Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Steve.
So we're here today to talk about the newest hit from the MCU called Iron Man 3. It's so great just being here in 2013 with our President Barack Obama and this MCU, like it's coming fresh off of Avengers. This is the first film after Avengers, so it's real cool to see what the future of this franchise is going to look like, because it's only going to get better and better from here, like clearly.
Yeah, man. I mean, the MCU's booming, the economy is booming, everyone's just happy all the time. I personally am very excited for the next 7 years.
Yeah, funny enough, I think the only downside right now in 2013 is I keep getting like all these people telling me about Bitcoin. It seems like a complete fucking scam. I don't know. People are going to lose so much money on that. It's ridiculous.
It's just a fad. We won't hear about it by next summer.
Yeah. Oh, man.
When Avengers 2 comes out and it's critically acclaimed and everyone loves it, including me, then we will forget about Bitcoin.
So no, this video is not from 2013. This is a new episode of Geeky Gentleman. Geeky Gentleman was on the air in 2013, so think about that.
There's probably an episode where we offhandedly have a tangent about Iron Man 3.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Iron Man 3 is such an interesting film to me, looking back now, where like, I'm not even, like, at all keeping up with the MCU. I couldn't tell you the last MCU thing that dropped. I've not seen any MCU film in theaters for a couple of years now, I think. And it's interesting to go back to Iron Man 3 because one of the last things I did watch MCU was I did watch Shang-Chi on Disney Plus at some point, and I just sat there watching the developments of this film and went, man, is anything from Iron Man 3 in continuity anymore? Like, is Iron Man 3 unique among comic book films in that it is the first one to be fully retconned?
Well, I mean, the bar is pretty high, right? Wolverine's got a trilogy where none of the movies are in canon with each other, so I don't think we've quite reached that territory. Especially because, now that I think about it, I don't think Iron Patriot shows up anywhere else ever.
Yeah.
Because he just shows back up as War Machine at the end of Age of Ultron.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe the President. I think the President's kind of a holdover from one movie to another. That might be the only thing at this point.
I don't know if President Ellis ever shows up again, because I don't think that the MCU ever really wanted to like fully ground itself outside of reality, because there's like Obama references in Iron Man 2.
Yeah. Well, there's Obama in Iron Man 2, but then the new Captain America movie, fucking Harrison Ford is president. So they have shifted over whatever the presidencies are supposed to be in this universe. So yeah, I think besides maybe Ellis, and that's a big if, that might be the only thing in this movie that isn't just straight up retconned at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because, like, I remember the reaction to this at the time being pretty negative. People were put off not only by the twist with Ben Kingsley's Mandarin, but also in general by the like him blowing up all the armors and then him just not being Iron Man in the suit for the majority of the movie, even though that's what the movie's about. Like this one just did not resonate with the populace, and it you know, again, it was that first film to come out after Avengers, so it did feel like it kind of put the MCU in panic mode to the point where pretty quickly after this they released that short film All Hail the King just to tell everyone, no, the real Mandarin will show up at some point. I'm like, man, what a way to just cut the balls off of your movie, because the real Mandarin was Guy Pearce in this. The real Mandarin was Aldrich Killian. He says, I am the Mandarin.
Yeah, right before he gets decked. It's awesome.
Yeah.
He's got dragon tattoos and everything. He's got Fing Fang Foom on his chest.
Yeah, no, like, they just... Like, my thing... for a while I thought it was this, but the more I've thought about it, the more I've gone back to The Hill I Will Die On, which is not only was The Incredible Hulk a good movie, it was the best movie of the early pre-Avengers. And yes, I will put First Avenger up there with it. But the original sin of the MCU was recasting Ed Norton. Because what Ed Norton wanted to do was actually tell stories with movies and characters and not just sell toys. And Iron Man 3 is the like full culmination of that, of no, we can't actually make real movies. We have to only focus on doing silly, goofy stuff. Which is not to say that the silly, goofy, like over the top fun stuff can't still be good. Like, I still like Black Panther. I still like Infinity War. Doctor Strange 2 is good.
I like Doctor Strange 2, yeah.
Yeah. It's not that they, like, aren't fun or can't be good. It's just that, like, the story and the characters come second to the brand and the audience and what the audience wants. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of get right into it, Iron Man 3 was not well received when it came out. I remember loving it in the theater, and every year and every time more MCU movies come out, more and more it just seems like Iron Man 3 gets vindicated. Because every decision to retcon something from this movie, or every decision to just patently ignore the consequences of this movie, just sort of further reinforce what this movie is supposed to be about and why the MCU goes so far off the rails so quickly. Because Phase 2, right? Like, Phase 2 is the first time where the chinks in the armor are abundantly visible. And a lot of people just kind of chalked that up at the time to, it's hard to make movies after the Avengers. And then they just kind of rolled with it. But, like, if you were a diehard MCUer, you had the back-to-back, left and right, the hooks of Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark World. And if you didn't vibe with Iron Man 3, that's two movies in a row that you would have thought sucked. And Thor the Dark World legitimately is just one of the worst things they've ever done. So everything wrong with Thor the Dark World and everything right with Iron Man 3 kind of become the blueprint for the whole rest of the series going forward. But I really like this movie. I think this is really good for two reasons. One is, for at least the first 2/3, this is unabashedly a Shane Black movie. This is him getting away with everything he likes to do in movies and his kind of characters and his general aesthetic and everything about what you would come to expect from a Shane Black movie, this movie has. But two, the actual commentary of this movie, the very overt commentary on the war on terror and U.S. foreign policy that's there, but also this sort of deeper subtext of the superhero as an idea is always implicated in this from the get-go, and the only way to burn down that system is to also abandon the idea that Iron Man should be necessary. That's the kind of, like, gutsy move that is abundantly clear when you're on the outside of superhero stuff looking in, that superhero stuff since this has just never had a good way to reconcile or deal with. I mean, I think that's the big reason this movie sticks with me so hard, is there's that image at the very end where he blows up the Mark 42 and he's looking at the Iron Man helmet and it's just burning up. And the fact that they get to kind of hold on that shot, and then after that, the big finale is he blows up every single one of his armors. And that larger idea being, you stopped Aldrich, Killian, you stopped the war profiteer. But Iron Man and War Machine, who is now Iron Patriot, this whole system you've embedded yourself in, the anxiety that you feel about superheroing is a parallel to the anxiety that the world feels about the United States. And these two ideas are not separate things, but connected. And if you blow one up, you have to blow the other up.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of the episode then. Thanks, dude.
There's a lot of silly things I want to talk about as we go through this, because I like this movie. I want to talk about Extremis, the comic. I want to talk about the Iron Legion before it was really the Iron Legion. I want to talk about why the yellow Mark 42 armor is the best armor the MCU's ever had. So there's a lot of stuff to go with. Where do you want to go first?
Let's talk about Harley. All
right.
I thought that was interesting. I remember seeing some fucking right-wing chud trying to describe why Ironheart was bad. And I believe their take was, well, if they'd set her up like they did the kid in Iron Man 3, it would be fine. And I had to think about it and go, Ironheart wasn't invented in 2013, was she?
I don't think so.
No, I looked it up. I think she's 2015, if I'm remembering it correctly.
She's a Bendis creation, I think. So yeah, it would have had to have been after Iron Man 3, because Bendis wrote Iron Man after he saw Iron Man 3.
Yeah. So I just thought about that. That's funny. But Harley is an interesting character in the MCU, because he's in this and just seems like he's okay, so he's just a character in this. They're not setting him up to be anything. And then it's just weird when you get to Endgame and they're all at Iron Man's funeral and everyone's like, who the fuck's that guy? There's Harley. It's really important to his lore.
But he's all grown up and it's really hard to remember him.
Yeah.
I remember watching the Iron Man funeral and people are like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I like Harley. I think Harley and Tony's relationship is really entertaining and cute, and I like that Tony is just a straight up dick to him. The line at the beginning when they meet, where he's like, "Dad's leave, don't need to be a pussy about it." That's probably some of the funniest stuff that Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man's ever done, in my opinion.
He's really good. No, I like Harley as a as just the child character in this. I think is really good. It's hard to do kid actors a lot of the times and not have them come off as annoying or whatever. I think this hits in a good place where it's not just them being buddy cop or whatever the whole movie. I think that would have been a huge misstep. But
for sure,
just having the circumstances of he needed a place to work on the armor and he just happened to come across Harley's workshop, and then just the situations developed from there, I think is really, really solid. And then it's the second that Harley gets in actual danger, he saves him, and then he just leaves him the fuck alone. He doesn't want him around it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. I really like this movie and every character in it, whether it's Aldrich, Killian, or Harley, as different foils for Tony to relearn the lesson he learned in the first movie. Because I think there's part of the reason he's there, and part of the reason you get that scene at the end where he redoes his garage and gives him all this fancy tech and kind of mirrors it based on his own office from the first movie, is Harley's there to kind of remind Tony of everything he feels and everything that's holding him back is here in this kid. That Tony in the second movie has a very overt arc about the lack of a strong relationship to his dad, and then Harley gets introduced, not having his dad around. Tony's whole thing here is that he's so caught up in what happened with him in the Avengers movie that he can't remember that at heart he's just a tinkerer, that he's a mechanic, and when he meets Harley, Harley's got a potato gun. And what is the quintessential kid who's into science object if not a potato gun?
Mhm.
So that's really cool. The fact that Harley gets to be in on the action insofar as he gets to be there when the armor is charged, he gets to be there for two of Tony's big panic attack moments, Harley being the window for Tony to realize if you need to build something, just build something, and getting that validation at the end when Tony realizes how important that relationship was. I like their connection a lot. I know a lot of people found him annoying when the movie came out, but I thought those two as actors did a really good job bouncing off of each other. I thought it gave Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man an opportunity to be off-putting in a way that intentionally alienates the audience because he's being off-putting to a kid. But the fact that the kid's able to match wits with him and be endearing and sort of disarm Tony makes you go right back and like him again. That's a really tricky balance to find, and I think the movie does a really good job with both of them.
For sure. I just really like the parting scene with them. The I'm cold. Just trying to guilt trip him. It's just fantastic because it's a good instance because Tony's investigating stuff, and obviously the way that things go with Extremis gets way out of hand and way more dangerous quicker than he could have possibly realized or prepared for. So I like the fact that Harley's put in danger, but through no fault of Tony's. And Tony gets to just help deal with it and help solve the problem as opposed to kind of creating the situation. You usually love that about Iron Man, that all of the problems are just ones that he created. I like that this is the one time where he didn't create at least the entirety of the situation. The overall yes, kind of, but the specific no. Let's use this as a good chance to transition and talk about Aldrich, because I'm not entirely sure that the guy who's doing all of this would not have done it had Tony Stark just come talk to him on the roof that night. I don't know if you could really make an argument that oh no. He's only cool with, kidnapping and killing the president and becoming the owner of the presidency and the war on terror all at once. If only Tony Stark could come and talk to him.
There is some evidence that maybe Aldrich had screw looses to begin with that Tony could not have foreseen. But I like Tony saying that he's taken the blame for all of this, because he opens the movie with we create our own demons, and he ends the movie in the same way. And Aldrich, I feel like there is a certain presumptuousness to him where he thinks that everything's his fault because he thinks he can fix anything. So he approaches his confrontation with Aldrich with that lesson of, even if it's completely irrational to think that this was my fault, his fatal character flaw is that he thinks that everything is fixable by him. And if that's what he truly believes, if he knows in his bones that he can just fix anything, then it is his responsibility when he could have fixed something or thought he could have fixed something, and he just ignores it. But part of the reason I like that is, just like Harley, Aldrich is kind of Tony on the wrong path. If Iron Man 1 was Tony's a weapons manufacturer, he doesn't care about who he kills, he gets his conscience when he gets shrapnel blown into him and becomes Iron Man, then Aldrich is the version of that in reverse, where he begins the movie kind of disabled and injured, and then he comes out and follows the path that Tony did of becoming a weapons manufacturer. And if Tony takes his good conscience to the extreme by becoming a superhero, Aldrich takes it to the extreme of becoming a megalomaniacal industrial capitalist war puppeteer, or just anyone who is rich in the United States at this point. So at that, when you get that sort of dichotomy, Tony is seeing in him a kind of kindred spirit of like, this is who I could have turned out to be. And he's taken on that guilt of if I did just talk to him, knowing full well that at that point in his life he probably wouldn't have been helpful, that maybe he could have turned around and become the hero that Tony is. But I like that relationship. I love Guy Pearce because he's so smug and he's just so annoying and he's so full of himself, and it's just fun to hate him. Guy Pearce is in a lot of movies where like he gets to be the charming cool guy, but he's always most entertaining, I feel like, when the charming cool guy either doesn't work or if he's intentionally not playing the charming cool guy. Like he's in a movie from last year called The Shrouds, and he's just like a conspiracy brained doofus, and that's really fun to watch. And I think it's similar here where like he wants to be cool Tony Stark and hit on Pepper, but he's just so fucking annoying. He can't shed that persona. And he never has a moment where you watch him and you're like, this guy's the shit. This guy's really cool. And I think the fact that he lacks that charisma, the fact that that makes him so easily and obviously the villain, and the fact that what he is doing is essentially what Tony was doing at the start of the movie helps kind of recontextualize that relationship a little bit. Because if the Harley stuff is supposed to be, we need to see Tony in a way that tests our ability to sympathize with him, then Aldrich is the ultimate version of that. And if you want to believe that Tony would abandon all of this at the end, you have to believe he saw a version of himself that is the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think my favorite Aldrich scene is when Pepper's all like, getting dosed up with extremists and stuff, and she's like, doesn't matter what you do to me, Tony will never help you. And he's like, actually, the you're here to motivate Tony, but the real reason you're here is actually more embarrassing. Like, just so gross.
He's such a loser.
I'm a trophy? Yeah. Like, he knows it. He still can't help himself. No, I agree. I really do like Aldrich in this. I'm not sure how I feel about like the kung fu moves and the dragon tattoos. That felt like maybe a little bit of a bridge too far, leaning into I am the Mandarin. You know what's funny?
Yeah, I mean,
about the whole Mandarin thing is when they do the Mandarin, but not really in Shang-Chi, they have like this whole scene where it's like, he named himself the Mandarin. It is a dish of oranges in American Chinese restaurants. This is not serious. It is not true to the legend of the Ten Rings. And then, like, you go back to this, and Tony's, like, doing the breakdown of the Mandarin. He goes, Mandarin, ancient Chinese warlord. You know what it makes me think of is Ra's al Ghul and Talia, and like just all the conversations about like Orientalism with them, and I'm like, at a certain point you have to just decide, is it okay or is it not? Is it cool enough to just deal with the Oriental quasi-racist caricature? Can you still make it work? Or can't you? And if your answer is, I don't know, then your answer is you can't.
Yep. And I mean, that's the thing with the Mandarin is like, he's just straight up Fu Manchu, right? Like it's not sugar-coated like Ra's al Ghul. It's not justified like Ra's al Ghul is. He's just straight up Fu Manchu. And like, you're saying there's a big multi-billion-dollar box office franchise, and you're just going to throw Fu Manchu up there? That doesn't seem like a good idea, even if you do think you can make it. So I think the idea of undercutting that and just admitting outright, this can't work, but also the superhero comics and the movie industry as a whole have a history of weaponizing evil racist caricatures. So what if we just made the movie about the ultimate evil racist caricature and use that as our commentary fuel? I think that was kind of a stroke of genius.
Oh, for sure.
There are a lot of people who will tell you that they want the real Mandarin in a movie because they read the comics. I am here to tell you, if you have read the comics, then you know that the Mandarin is different every time he shows up. Every fucking time he's got a whole new motivation. Every fucking time he's like, oh, I'm looking for the rings now. Oh, I lost my hands. Or, oh, ancient dragon space aliens have given me my power. Like, there's so much shit with the Mandarin, even by this point, that I think the idea of wanting to be based on the comics is kind of nonsensical. And even if you did, why do you want Fu Manchu on screen? Why not interrogate this idea of like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be using evil racist caricatures as the foils to our superheroes. That seems like propaganda.
Yeah. It's interesting because they do eventually try to do the Mandarin, and they just jump over all these hoops to try to make him work in Shang-Chi, and like, it's okay, I guess. I don't particularly care for it. It just feels like you're just trying too hard to make it work at that point, when ultimately just what you had in Iron Man 3, like, I don't care if the audience didn't resonate with it, it was objectively better.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Like, even before what Shang-Chi did with it, going back to All Hail the King, the Marvel one-shot film that they made with Ben Kingsley, just like I enjoyed that short. It's fun to watch. KGB Cop is a show I would watch every day. He just goes out on the street to solve a case, grabs the first person he sees, and tortures them until they confess.
That's the propaganda we need.
Yeah. But, like, you know, just the ideas associated with that. Like, so is the Mandarin or not? Like, is it an insulting name or not? Because literally, like, the line in All Hail the King is, "You took his name." It's like, did he?
Right.
And it's so, like, again, Ben Kingsley, what he's doing is just super entertaining to watch, and like the way that they just play around with it, and they comment on it in the movie itself. It's like, oh, he talks like the Southern Baptist, but he's using like Chinese and Middle Eastern iconography. There's a lot of theatrics going on here. It's like, yeah, it's just, he was created by a think tank. It's so fucking perfect. Yeah.
Well, he has my favorite little, not my favorite, because my favorite is where he executes the guy on live TV, but my other favorite bit that he does in his terrorist tapes is when he talks about the Chinese theater, where he's like, fortune cookies, they sound Chinese, they look Chinese, but they're actually an American invention, which is why they're hollow, full of lies, and leave a bad taste in your mouth. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, hey, he was hollow, full of lies, and left a bad taste in our mouth because he was an American invention.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
It's awesome.
It's a great way to deal with that. You know, like, I am the Mandarin is such a silly line overall, but like, it does just, you know, it is, I feel, the point at which the storyteller, the director, is trying to meet the studio in the middle and give the audience like the clear indication here of like, no, I didn't play you. Yeah. The Mandarin is in this. It's this guy. This is the like plot and everything. And like, I don't know, because like, what did people really want? Did they want Ben Kingsley to just be that on film, and like that was the take of the Mandarin? It's like, well, what the fuck is he though? Like,
right?
What's the rest of the movie if that's just all he's doing?
So no, 100%. This was back in my days of being in like forums for the MCU and stuff. But this is when I was in my deepest fan page, and 100%. When this movie came out, and people saw that Ben Kingsley was a fake, the number one thing people who didn't like the movie said was, why couldn't he have just been the guy he was in the terrorist tapes? I would have loved that. That would have been awesome if he was just generic terrorist, but Chinese. I'm like, oh man, this is the level of literacy we're dealing with now.
Mm-hmm. Like, I just, you know, the characterization from the think tank, it's cool, it's chilling, it's got some fucking baller ass lines. I did that. Like, it's fucking sick. You'll never see me coming.
He's so good in those tapes, man. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. But like, okay, but what's the rest of the movie? How is that gonna be tied to the extremis thing and like actually
Right.
mean anything? I don't know. It just seems like, I guess I want to see the fan write of what that was gonna be to like truly judge it, because I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but I just don't see how it would be better in any way to what we got. When what we got is just objectively more interesting than everything they've tried to do with it since.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the way they use the Mandarin and the terrorist tapes, and the way they give Tony these panic attacks and connect all these threads to have this commentary on not only the war on terror, but the way that we use racist iconography to sell forever wars, the way that soldiers aren't being cared for but are being manipulated by the military and government contractors to just continually fight these forever wars.
And I'm
The
just
fact
so
that
glad that we're done with all the forever wars. By the way,
I know, right? Wasn't it? Weren't you so happy when we left Afghanistan a few years ago? But like using the Iron Man armor in an official government capacity where he becomes the Iron Patriot, like the thing about the wanting the real Mandarin, that I think fundamentally doesn't gel with what this movie's about, and I think why it would just be inferior even if you wrote a good version, is what I was saying up top, where you have to, on a certain level, whether you like it or not, accept the fact that American superhero comics are a product of World War II, and they're a product of American propagandist jingoism. That's just what they are. You can like them. They're great sometimes, they're awful other times, but the history of superhero comics is littered with American exceptionalism, American imperialism, ideas of American supremacy. That's what makes them interesting. What makes comic books art is the form of comics. What makes superheroes an interesting microcosm of comics is that it's utilizing this versatile form to capture these images of what an American power fantasy looks like. And you can have different layers of that. You could go full right-wing tilt with it, or you could go more deconstructionist with it, but that's what they are. And so when you have characters like Iron Man in the comics who start as weapons manufacturers and then become superheroes, those lines aren't being separated. They're not clear delineations of before and after. They are these things that are being coupled. This idea of the American rich capitalist who thinks he knows what's best for everybody, acting as a unilateral force in world affairs. The superhero as like the quote unquote spirit of what America should be, but always just erring on the side of what America does anyway. Superman comics where he goes to the government and he's just like, General, where do you want me to go? Like that kind of bullshit. That's just the nature of the medium on a certain level. And
I think the
what
ultimate
this movie
one, just to, before you go on with that, I think the ultimate one is to the point where it gets like insulting to the reality is after Hitler's invasion of Poland and the Soviet incursion 2 weeks later, Superman just goes and grabs both of them and brings them to the League of Nations.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It's just silly.
Yeah, and you can like these things, but like the if you want superheroes to be treated like art, you have to start engaging with them for their political context. And you can't do that without accepting the fact that they are inherently these power fantasies. So the reason you can't rewrite Iron Man 3 in a way that would ever make it better for me is, as far as superhero movies go, this is really the only one that kind of goes out of its way to say, you cannot criticize the US foreign policy and government affairs as such without also dismantling the superhero identity too. Tony can't just beat the Mandarin. Tony can't just send Aldrich to jail. He has to also stop being Iron Man, because the notion of this forever conflict that Aldrich is setting up that mirrors what we deal with every day is that there are people like War Machine / Iron Patriot out there doing the same thing. Captain America is a thing. Iron Man gets into this mess because he invites himself to act unilaterally against the Mandarin in the first place. So when he blows up those Eimers at the end and he has that speech about how the armor was a cocoon, the armor was a cocoon not only for him as a character, but because his arc and those anxiety attacks and this idea of I'm always in danger, those are a character feeling the things that this sociopolitical context creates in everyday people. The idea that you will always be under attack by an invisible threat, whether you're a person or a country, are similar feelings of anxiety. And if you're going to tackle the anxiety of a nation that is self-created, you have to attack the anxiety of a person that's also self-created. So if the Mandarin's a fake and he has to get blown up, it's so fitting and so on point to like it's so overly obvious that it's almost cringe that the way to beat the Mandarin was to blow up the Iron Man armor, because the armor he sends to Aldrich to blow up, the Mark 42, I love the color scheme of it because it's something that the Iron Man comics do, where he'll get a different armor and the color scheme or the style will kind of parallel the lesson he's supposed to learn. So like he goes from the red and gold armor to the silver centurion after his relapse from alcoholism as like a signal that he'd conquer some of his vices and not others. I think the Mark 42 functions the same way in this movie, where it's the armor that has the most pronounced yellow because it's the movie where Tony is the most afraid of everything. And so the only way to deal with that is to blow it up. So he puts the armor that symbolizes fear on the guy who has institutionalized and marketized fear and blows them both up.
Yeah. You know what I think is a stupid thing that's like not talked about, because they do like the All Hail the King thing and talk about how people are mad at Trevor and they ask him like, how could you not know? How many people did Aldrich hire to like help a terrorist that just no one else?
He's got a whole production.
Like, right? He's got like a whole studio. There's security guards.
He's got makeup people and cameramen and shit.
Like, they're all in on it. And none of them face any none of them get caught. Like, I understand you need to do your 9 to 5 or whatever, but like, do they know? Because like, it appears, you know, like Aldrich keeps saying the master is coming, blah blah. So like, they're under the impression that it's all real? Question mark. I don't know. Like, did they actually kill that dude? Did Trevor shoot? They wouldn't give Trevor a loaded gun and have him actually execute someone. So, is the guy in on it?
No. Well, Trevor says that it was all staged, but I mean, he's on drugs, so maybe he did literally kill a guy and not realize.
I don't know. They don't really deal with that one and the full implications of it.
The scene though, that scene where like he gives the president the chance to call him, the president calls him and he shoots the dude anyway. That's one of the coolest things in a Marvel movie ever.
Yeah, it does feel like a little like just unfair.
Yeah, 100%. It's I like in that broader theme, I like this idea that not only can the terrorists that the US create be evil, they have to be so supremely unfairly evil and broadcast it to all of you so you have no choice but to hate them more. I love that.
Yeah, just gotta fucking traumatize a whole nation real quick, be back.
And the poor innocent guy that he shoots, the poor defenseless man, is an oil executive.
Yeah. Beautiful. Where do I get a Mandarin t-shirt?
That's what I'm saying. Let's go, Mandarin. Comrades Trevor.
Free Mandarin. Free Luigi. Oh. And then the fact that, like, they just keep Trevor for, like, however many years till the events of Shang-Chi for some fucking reason.
I don't know why Ben Kingsley keeps coming back to do this, man. I thought he was fine in the first one, but they keep bringing
Have they brought him back since Shang-Chi? Has he done it again? Or is Shang-Chi
Yeah.
the last time?
Apparently he's in Wonder Man.
Oh my god, why?
Which, I mean, and Wonder Man's an actor, so I guess that sort of is a parallel, but man, it's weird.
Yeah, no. Someone left a comment on last week's episode. I am the one person that has watched Wonder Man. It's alright.
Oh, good. I'm glad someone did.
Good for you. um,
Yeah, no, he's played Trevor a few times now, which is a little strange. I mean, man's got an Oscar. Does he really need to be doing this? But like, he's also going to be in that Angel Studios George Washington biopic, so who knows?
oh, the AI one? Or is that a different
not
thing?
the AI one.
Okay.
There's a different one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's the AI one is the Darren Aronofsky one. No, this is a real movie insofar as there are actors. But that's about it.
Supreme Court finally did a good decision and ruled that AI cannot be copyrighted because a human has to make it to be copyrighted. So that's one good thing that's happened.
There you go.
Yeah.
Some progress. Things we didn't think we'd be worrying about in 2013.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes me curious about that fucking fucking AI show now. Like,
Yeah.
is any company gonna fund one of these things now?
Because, now, yeah. I mean, if you don't have the copyright to it, if you can't churn it out constantly and garner intellectual property money out of it, and you can't sell DVDs in mass, what are you going to do?
Yeah. There's no profit margin now. Potentially. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it, but might be a good thing. So really what I'm just waiting for is the Trevor fully AI Marvel movie.
It'll just be it's a triple cross, because it wasn't just that he wasn't the Mandarin. He actually is the Mandarin. He just couldn't tell anybody. And now he's back to doing terrorist shit.
Dude, I swear to God, if you took the fucking actor from Shang-Chi and had him just, like, I think he dies in that movie, but whatever, had him just, like, go up to Ben Kingsley, "What now, my master?" And then he goes full back into the Mandarin, and you realize that, like, Guy Pearce was just trying to, like, take credit for copying the homework. Fucking triple twist this shit. Oh.
It's really upsetting that Shang-Chi is as bad as it is, because they got Tony Leung to play the real Mandarin, and he's just like one of the quintessential best Chinese actors ever, and you just put him in that shit.
I liked things about Shang-Chi. I liked the ending with Wong. That was one of the better end credit stingers that they've done in recent years. But I don't know. I cannot remember hardly anything from the movie, and I think that besides the fact that, like, Trevor shows up again and now they're doing the real Mandarin, and at that point I was like, okay, so we're just done with Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 just didn't happen effectively. Because, like, that was the other thing.
Yeah,
like, he blows up all the armors in it, and people are like, oh, but then he's back in the armor in Age of Ultron, and so this contradicts the ending of Iron Man 3. And it's like, it does and it doesn't. I think that's, like, the first most immediate one, because there was, like, discussion, and Robert Downey Jr. has gone back and forth on this so many times ever since Avengers, of like, no, I think I'm done playing Tony Stark. No, I think I'll come back for the Avengers, but that's it. I'll come back for Civil War, but that's it. I'll play Doctor Doom. It's fine. Well, like, I do remember at the time that there was discussion that he just wasn't gonna be like, as central anymore. Like, post Iron Man 3, he really wasn't gonna be in the suit, and it might be more like he'd be doing, like, remote control suits or something from now on, or something like that. Was a topic of discussion. And you, like, start off Age of Ultron and you see the Ultron V1s before the proper intelligence gets a hold of them, and that's kind of leaning more, maybe that's where he's going to be going toward or something, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a bit messy.
Age of Ultron's weird because I still like that movie. I still think it's another one of these like earlier Marvel movie that feels like it's underappreciated, especially because of how bad things get afterwards. But that's a weird case where I feel like if you don't follow the thread of Iron Man 3 thematically at all, then it doesn't contradict it. But if you do, then it 100% does. Like if you're reading Iron Man 3 from the perspective of literally what did the character say that they were doing, then this is not a contradiction. But if you're trying to maintain the spirit of what this movie was about, then it is. And that's kind of the rough part of it because I like what Whedon does with Iron Man in Age of Ultron, but I like what Shane Black does with Iron Man in Iron Man 3 more. So I'm of two minds about it on that front. I think because you can't have the U.S. foreign policy commentary, the superhero as American stand-in commentary, and then go into a movie where Iron Man is just like, I am going to build world peace. Like that doesn't make any sense. But if you ignore all of that and you're just like, Iron Man gave up being Iron Man for Pepper and now just supervises the Avengers because we just take that movie at its word and not at its spirit, then okay, sure. He could build more Iron Man, whatever.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I don't know. Again, so like I think that's your first instance of the retcon, and then you've got the All Hail the King, and then just slowly but surely, just everything that movie did just goes away, and it's just fascinating.
And Age of Ultron does away with Iron Patriot also. War Machine just shows up at the end, and he's like, "Yeah, War Machine coming at you," and he's not Iron Patriot anymore for no reason.
I feel like Iron Patriot's the biggest thing of like it works within the context of the movie, and I've never read the Civil War stuff with Norman. I was about to say Norman Bates.
Norman Osborn.
Norman Osborn.
Close enough.
Yeah, really. With Norman Osborn as the Iron Patriot, I've never read any of that stuff, so I don't really know what like the context of that is within the comics. I always thought Iron Patriot looked fucking stupid. Fucking Joan Rivers is in this.
Yeah, the Iron Patriot stuff's a little bit strange because the movie itself is based off of Warren Ellis's Extremis. So all the Extremis stuff, Aldrich, Killian, Maya Hansen, all that stuff is Extremis. But then the Iron Patriot specifically is the Matt Fraction Invincible Iron Man run. Basically what happens in that book is that it's the opposite end of Extremis, because Extremis gives Tony essentially superpowers, that his organs heal all the time, that he can compute stuff in his brain like a computer. The armor is communicating through his like bone marrow and shit, and it just plops onto him. It basically makes him a superhuman. And then in World's Most Wanted, Extremis, the thing he took to get that starts to fail, and it starts to like destroy his brain. And this is after Civil War, so what Tony's been doing is he's trying to get rid of the superhero registration files, and Norman Osborn's trying to go after him so that he can try and spare what's there out before Tony gets through all of it. But the way Tony is doing it is every little bit that he deteriorates, he's losing intelligence. So he has to keep wearing older and older and older armors. So he has to go from Extremis to the one before that, to the one before that, to the one before that, until he just ends up in like the big clunky gray one. And Norman at this point is the leader of the Avengers, because post-Civil War, the Avengers get decimated and the new Avengers are kind of underground, and Norman becomes Iron Man, quote unquote, by putting on the Iron Patriot armor. And the end of World's Most Wanted is Norman just beating the shit out of Tony Stark in the Iron Patriot armor. You can do similar stuff in that story that this movie does, but it is a little disappointing that they just give War Machine a paint job, and they don't just use like the straight up Iron Patriot armor.
Yeah, I don't know like what else you do with it, because having War Machine getting to go around working with the US military seems like already a bridge too far with where Tony was at the end of Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like within the context of what we see in the movie, like he's specifically targeting like the known threats. He's like there being the president's bodyguard superhero. So it's like, okay, kind of. It's not great, but like, you know, that's Tony's best friend. So I could see the exception being made there. Like, as long as he's the one in the armor, it's fine. But like, just concretely, the plot would work a whole lot better if we had a oh, what's his name that becomes Captain America?
Bucky?
No, the guy who's shit at it, U.S. agent.
Fuck, what's his name?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
If like if you had him running around in the armor, I could see that like.
John Walker.
Yeah, John Walker. I could see that being like maybe lending itself better to the commentary here, and working more cohesively with just the Iron Man trilogy.
You could also just make an argument for Aldrich Killian in Extremis is like a nobody. Like he's just a henchman. He dies basically at the start of the story, and you don't see him ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have made an argument for just don't have Aldrich Killian as your big bad, just make him Norman. But I don't think that they had a deal with Sony at this point.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it had to be Aldrich Killian instead of Norman. But I guess if you were going to rewrite it now, that's how you would do it, is you would just make it Norman Osborn.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's just a...
And then just give him Iron Patriot.
Yeah, it's just a whole different kind of fucking world to think of with all the legal deals and stuff. Which, in all fairness, like, to this kind of suffering from the studio, yada yada, this is, like, a remarkably well-made movie with as much pressure as the studio puts on people doing MCU projects. This is still pretty... All things considered, this is still pretty early days. And
yeah.
I think this, like, you know, the public perception of this, again, coming off of Avengers, and having this be the first thing released and just be such a, like, underwhelming or a disappointment for so many people, and just having it go over so many people's heads, it is kind of unsurprising that the MCU turned more into what it became. It starts with Ed Norton. I think this is like the second like really big shift that starts to push him away from it. And then is there like a final nail in the coffin? Is it Age of Ultron? Avengers 2 just not performing as well?
I don't know if that's the final nail in the coffin. I think it might more so be Civil War. Okay. I think when you turned the Captain America movie into just Avengers 3, and there's so much stuff that happens in that movie that either is just retconning stuff that happened before it, or creating character dynamics that we never see, or introducing status quos and then ignoring them. Like if you remember, Pepper and Tony broke up at some point intermittent from Age of Ultron and Civil War. There's just a scene where they're broken up for no reason, and you were never explained why this happens, but it becomes a motivating factor for him in that movie, and then they're just not broken up after that movie for whatever reason. And then after Civil War happens, they're like, we're going to get to explore a world where the Avengers are like the underdogs. And then the next movie is Infinity War, where they all just get back together anyway. So I think Civil War is probably like the big nail in the coffin of like, I like things about that movie, but I think it's the one where it's the most like, this is where we are no longer servicing making individual movies. We're just making segments of a movie that all connect to other movies, except not really, because those connections never get to play out.
and we're just gonna fix it all in the edit and do reshoots and focus test and yada yada. Um,
and because we do all that, the special effects look really bad.
yeah.
And it looks like it's shot on concrete. Like I think pre-Civil War, the special effects and the general visuals for most of the Marvel movies look good. Like Thor: The Dark World's not a good movie, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy looks pretty good. Age of Ultron looks pretty good. I think the only real exceptions are like Ant-Man and Captain America: Winter Soldier, but they look like movies for the most part up until Civil War. And Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron are the last times that they're using a real Iron Man suit on set. And you can tell, right? Like I think the suit looks legitimately really good in this movie, and it looks really good in Age of Ultron. And then Civil War forward, they've got a suit on set for reference, but then they just CGI over the whole thing every.
Yeah. And like there's again, not to shit on the CGI replacement, there's other reasons for it besides just laziness. At a certain point,
Yeah.
your brain picks up on it less if you do just go full CGI. I will like defend it to a certain point. Like, what is it that the VFX crew said? Every time Tom Holland has the mask on, it's a full CG replacement, and I could never tell you. Like, the only reason you know is because of like the impossible movements of like that, you know, extreme Spider-Man superhero acrobatics. But just, you know, pick a fucking still frame where he's just standing there talking to someone in the suit with the mask on, and I could never tell you that is not actually Tom Holland in costume.
I do think though, like there are certain situations where I feel like that makes perfect sense, like Spider-Man, where the costume is fabric and he's trying to move naturally. I think with the armors, because they are more angular and they've got more like actual physicality to them, the early armors, because they used real ones on set, they tend to look really, really good because they're getting dirtied up and messed up throughout the movie, and they look like they're slow to move and they're clicking and clanking. When you get to Civil War and he's just got basically bleeding edge and the whole thing is like a onesie, um, and it never feels like he's moving around in a thing that's metal, I think that starts to look actively kind of bad. Because I remember watching him armor up in Civil War and just feeling like it didn't have any of the weight to it because you weren't watching the individual pieces of the armor clasp onto him and feel like there was any weight to it in a way you did as far back as Iron Man 2 when he puts on the suitcase armor for the first time. So like with
There's that, and
Spider-Man, I
then
think
you
it's
just
fine.
you slowly develop into everybody's got a nanotech suit now. And
Right,
it's just,
exactly.
like completely lost the illusion. And then you just get the fucking meme someone posted of Spy Kids 3D. It's like, this is what all the MCU movies look like to me. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Part of the reason I wanted to talk about Iron Man 3 is last year I wrote an article for Shelf Dust on the Dennis O'Neil run of Iron Man. And one of the things I wanted to kind of harp on was, and this isn't just an MCU thing, this is a comics thing. There's a point in Iron Man comics where the armor does basically just become a second skin or become a superpower, and that point is Extremis. By the time you get to Extremis, the armor is just a superpower. And the movies, through no fault of their own, I don't think, choose to go with the newer armors because they're the newer armors, and they're the ones that have the most powerful ornaments. The armor that Tony wears in the first Iron Man movie, the faceplate and everything is basically Extremis. It's just a little bit more reeled in, but it's essentially copying that modern armor design. But the problem with those new armors is because they're so biologically interfaced with Tony, like Extremis just existing in his bloodstream or Bleeding Edge just being something that comes out of his skin, it's really easy to see Tony and the armor as like a singular entity. Like the arc he goes on in a lot of these movies is he needs to realize that him and the armor are two distinct things, that he's not just the thing that he puts on every time. But if you're a human being and if your fingertips just let you do things, it'd be really easy to make that mistake. when you go back to the older comics and you go to like the stuff where the armor was a thing that he literally picked out of a suitcase and put on one piece at a time, like he was a knight or something, then that leap in logic that he makes of like the armor is a part of my body, that makes him seem more insane, because he's literally putting on armor and acting like it's his skin. And that's the thing about Tony that's fascinating in the comics, is he's putting on this thing, this exoskeleton that is so obviously not him, but he gets infected with the power fantasy of having it, and he doesn't realize, even though he's sweating through the armor, that this thing is not part of me, and it makes him seem more deranged. But when you get to like the modern comics and the MCU armors, where they're basically a superpower, that idea that the armor is a cocoon, the idea that the armor is a thing that he needs to grow out of, it becomes a less believable arc, because the armor is so entwined with his actual biology.
I do think you start to kind of get that here, and then they just never really pick up on it, because they just go full, like, nanotech, which, you know, conceivably Bleeding Edge, if it's coming out of his skin, would have to be.
Yeah.
But that's not the way that they really present it. It just seems to be coming from the arc reactor, which he doesn't need anymore based on the end of this movie, but he still just has.
For reasons.
Yeah. Like, because he's got a fucking hole in his chest in Iron Man 1. Pepper has to literally reach inside of him and pull stuff out. So, like, even if they get rid of the shrapnel, like, you can't just... Okay. That's neither here nor there.
It's a little extreme, yeah.
That's neither here nor there. Anyway, but, like, in this, he's, like, you know, doing the skin injections, so you could see the path to get to more of that, like, the armor's literally becoming more and more part of him, with the other movies. And, like, it's not that you can't do character regression. You could make an argument for that with where he is at the end of this into where he is in Age of Ultron as like intentional character regression as opposed to just incidental character regression.
Sure, yeah.
But it just doesn't work. It doesn't, like, we're clearly putting more thought into it with this conversation than they did with making the fucking movies. Because the reason that the armor he starts to act more naturally in it doesn't feel clunky, is not just because they're not filming with practical prop. It's because they're not thinking about those kinds of things with the movies anymore by that point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing, because the problem with Iron Man is that you kind of have to follow this trend of what makes something seem futuristic and like the peak of technology. And when you're writing in the 60s or 70s, it's really easy to give him a clunky piece of armor and still seem high tech, but it's a lot harder in the 2000s to do that same thing and not just go like the nanotech route or the psychic link to his armor or all that stuff. Christopher Cantwell in 2020 had his Iron Man run. A better compromised version where he basically compared it to like he got a muscle car, where it is individual pieces. You can see his eyes again. The faceplate is back to the way it used to be. But the idea is this isn't supposed to be big, technologically efficient. This is supposed to be maximum power output. This is like you go in and you just beat the crap out of something. It's not designed to be like the kind of Iron Man suit that hacks into things. And that approach worked for that story, but that's something I wish you did more with the armors, because the individual Iron Man armors, and I guess this will circle back to Iron Man 3, the problem with the MCU is that the individual Iron Man armors are meaningless. They don't do anything. There is no reason for why one suit is an upgrade over any other suit. And when he gets the house party protocol at the end of this, and he's got some specialized suits in the mixed, he never uses them for anything ever. in any of the movies. His Iron Man suit always just does everything. So it never feels like this desire to have multiple suits, which is a thing in the comics because he does use them, has ever made sense in the movies. Because in Iron Man 3 he goes through in Iron Man 1 he goes through 3 suits. He has the suit that he builds when he's in captivity. He's got the prototype silver armor that has the frosting problem. Then he's got the Mark III, which fixes the frosting problem, and he gives it the hot rod paint job. Then Iron Man 2 starts, and he's got the Mark IV. What's the difference between the Mark III and the Mark IV? Couldn't tell you. Then he's got the suitcase armor. Okay, we understand what's going on there. Then he gets the Mark VI, which has the new element in the arc reactor. What's the difference between Mark IV, Mark III, and Mark VI besides the new element? Couldn't tell you. And then you get Iron Man 3, and you're at Mark 42, and aside from the fact that the Mark 42 disassembles and comes to him, what's the difference between Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 6, and Mark 42? Couldn't tell you. What is he doing better in any of these suits than the other ones? I don't know.
Arguably, Mark 42 is kind of shit. It
is. It's garbage.
It gets taken out by a fucking semi-truck. It runs out of power and needs to recharge for fucking days. When, like, the whole point of the arc reactor is it creates infinite power.
But you can't, if you're gonna make it remote control, it can't draw power from the arc reactor. So it's like a downgrade, because every piece has to recharge.
I mean, you'd think, like, you could maybe create some kind of backup battery system when it's off the arc reactor, and then it gets, switches to a different power feed when it's on the arc reactor. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm smarter than Tony Stark. Call me Reed Richards.
It's like when your laptop has adaptive battery settings where you plug it in and it knows it's plugged in and charges when it needs to. And then you take it off and then it uses its battery.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like the Mark 42 is honestly so shit that, like, even when it's put on the villain and blown up, it doesn't blow up enough.
It never does its job. I think that's the beauty of it, is like he invented an armor that's supposed to be the highest achievement so far, but it just keeps failing him to the point where he has to blow it up, which I think is thematically appropriate. But it is just this sort of question of, like, in the comics, when he gets a new armor, every armor in the early days of the comics had a finite number of resources. Every issue, you could look at the armor and you would know it can do these 6 things and these 6 things only. And every time he got a new armor, they added one thing. But it was always tangible. It was always like, I understand explicitly what the Silver Centurion did that the Mark IV did not. Because they would constantly tell me, I can do this in the Silver Centurion, and I couldn't do it before. The reason that Tony can take out Rhodey in an older armor, even though Rhodey's using a new armor, is because Tony knew exactly what the limitations of the older armor were, and the story would be like, hey, if I hit those power pods on his hips, he won't have any power. Or, hey, if I use this frequency, it's going to jam his navigation, and he won't be able to fly. And they would use those tricks repeatedly. And that's what made every armor upgrade special, because every armor upgrade was like, I am fixing this specific problem that I just faced that created a problem with my other armor. But the MCU never does that. He just keeps getting new armors, and I have no idea why one's better than the other.
I'm not sure that's 100% true. Just because there is, like, a series of videos that was going around for a while where it would talk about, like, everything that Tony upgraded about his armor between the movies, and it's just done, like, really subtly. The one that I remember, like, the most as just like, oh yeah, 100%, is in Infinity War, he's going up against Thanos, and, like, he just doesn't have enough nanobots to keep making all the different weapons, and so they're, like, degrading throughout the duration of the fight. And then in Endgame, he's got, like, fucking constructs. Like, little, like, not holograms, but, like, energy projection weapons and shields and stuff. Not that you see him really use them, but, like, conceptually it's there.
Well, but see, that's the thing, right? Like in if you're gonna give him a new armor in the comics, the idea was that is an occasion for the story. When you start a run and that writer introduces a new armor, it's because that new armor is narratively solving a problem that the story is about.
Mm-hmm.
But the movies never have that. The movies are never like, outside of maybe Mark 6, the movies are never like, I created this armor because in this last situation I had, this was a problem I needed to face, and this armor is explicitly designed to not do that thing that I'd hate. That's the problem I have, where it's like, if you're going to keep upgrading his armor, you can watch those movies and be like, yeah, he's getting more powerful movie by movie. But at a certain point, like even the Infinity War armor, at a certain point, you're just like, why did you need to get this much more powerful than your last armor? What was the Infinity War armor doing that was compensating for something that the Civil War armor couldn't?
I don't know. Not get his ass beat
Exactly.
by 2 super soldiers.
I guess. It'd be cool if Infinity War was like, yeah, man, I designed this armor to beat up Captain America, but I guess I'll use it to beat Thanos instead. That would have been cool. I would have been all right with that.
He got his shit rocked by those two guys for
It was so funny.
For being the bleeding edge armor that's like supposed to be the best thing from the comics to just getting the shit kicked out of him by just 2 dudes.
Yeah, the fun thing about Bleeding Edge is like, I don't think the average moviegoer when they're watching those movies understands just how much peak the Bleeding Edge armor has. Like you mentioned the energy projection in this upgrade from Infinity War to Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
That's already Bleeding Edge.
Yeah.
Bleeding Edge is like, he's got the nanoparticles inside of his body. They are self-regenerating and self-healing. They've got energy weapons. He can reconfigure them into any number of things. He can cause the nanoparticles to multiply and create more armor when he needs it. He can turn the Bleeding Edge into any multi-purpose tool he can imagine. It's basically a Green Lantern, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, he's like the worst Green Lantern with Bleeding Edge.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
And then when Kieran Gillen took over the book and gave him a new armor, the argument that he gave to get rid of the Bleeding Edge because it was too OP was the Bleeding Edge could do everything competently, which means that it could never do any specific thing perfectly. So we're just going to go back to the old way of having a specialized armor for every situation, because that way the specialized armor will do it better than the Bleeding Edge, even if the Bleeding Edge is more convenient.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe get good and just make a Green Lantern ring, and then we could be done with this conversation.
Can a Green Lantern ring create a Bleeding Edge armor on a lantern? Is that possible?
I missed the last part of that question.
Could a Green Lantern ring create a Bleeding Edge armor on top of? Could you infuse yourself with the Construct's energy to give yourself the nanoparticles?
Yeah.
You just need to have enough energy and will to maintain it.
The limitation that I like with that is it's in the 2nd or 3rd episode of the Green Lantern animated series where they Hal pushes the ship to the Interceptor, pushes Aya to go into wormhole travel before she finishes her calculations, and they fuck up the warp drive, and it's the thing that like limits them to being in the outer regions of space for the entire first half of the show. And she's like, well, it'll take me 6 months to repair this part. And they go, well, could we just make a construct of the part and put it in there? And she's like, yes, possibly, but it would need to be accurate to within 1/1000th of a micro atom. Or some shit, like, just ridiculous thing. And Hal looks at Killian, he's like, can you do that? And Killian goes, I make hammers. So, like, the line is, the only limit is your imagination, but, like, that also means there is a limit of like your intelligence and how much you actually know about a thing, which is why I always like the idea of like the when a Green Lantern like shoots an energy beam. Yeah, conceptually it is going to be the same amount of power that they get out of creating a laser gun construct to shoot an energy beam, but there is just something to be said for like how powerful is an energy beam versus how powerful is a gun in your head, you know?
Yeah.
There's like the abstract versus like the more, you know, realistic tactile thing. So like building with those things. The joke I would have added to Green Lantern the Animated Series if it had gone on longer is I would have put Sinestro in with Hal for another episode and recreate the circumstances that breaks that fucking part in the Interceptor, and for them to be like, oh fuck, we're stuck out here for another 6 months, and have Sinestro just go, no, give me the schematics of the piece. Ring, recreate this.
Such a dick move.
It would be so perfect.
He's such a...
It's 100% how Sinestro would approach that situation. Because Hal's a blockhead.
That reminds me of That reminds me of Brave and the Bold when Batman meets Sinestro, and Batman's like, he's the one man I can completely depend on is Sinestro.
Yeah, 100%. I fucking love that about him. It's a great episode.
I love that.
You know, that's
we should talk about that at some point.
Yeah, that'd be how I would have remedied that. Like, again, it's not just a limit to imagination; it's a limit to the intelligence. So no, like Tony with a Green Lantern ring would be fucking busted. As all hell. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's get back to Iron Man 3 just a little bit, because I did have like 2 other things I wanted to talk about. We've been kind of on a comics tangent for a hot minute here.
Sure, yeah.
Thing number 1, it's just really quick. They kind of start to do something with it, and then they kind of just drop it, which is the idea of like the Extremis as a addictive substance.
Yeah.
They set it up early on when the one guy that almost kills Happy dies, and he's like kind of being shown to be maybe a bit of a junkie, and it's kind of got like that drug deal kind of feel. And then again when Tony's like looking at the video files and stuff, and Killian goes, addiction will not be tolerated if you cannot manage, you're out of the program, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And then they just stop. It doesn't ever come up again after that. I thought that was a bit of one thing I would actually complain about with this movie is it doesn't really seem to go anywhere. The Extremis people never seem like there's any sense of being compromised by the drug, aside from maybe when you first inject it you'll just blow up. That seems to be really the only downside. They don't really play on the addiction side of things or any kind of like negative side effects from it.
That's one of the things I had written down, because I feel like this is where, no matter how good a Marvel movie is, this is where it stops. Where, because the ending has to be a big bombastic fight, a lot of these smaller ideas and conflicts that you set up have to just kind of go by the wayside because there's no room to do it. The soldiers who are addicted to Extremis, but also this sort of larger idea of like you're taking soldiers with disabilities, soldiers who have amputations, people that have been hurt in these perpetual war conflicts, that lady that Tony talks to when he lands in Tennessee because her son was one of the people that was being experimented on with Extremis. That sort of larger commentary of like the way we just kind of discard the people who fight these forever wars, and we treat them terribly, and we use them in experiments, and then we just forget about them like casualties of war. These are things that I feel like should come full circle by the end, but they can't, because if you care about the plight of the soldiers too much, then you can't just have Iron Man armors beating the crap out of them at the end.
Yeah. The MCU has a lot of that, like, did they die or did they just go to sleep?
Right. Right. There's just a little bit of like I don't know. There like I want to know what ended up happening because that the woman that Tony talks to, it's a really small role, but it's a good performance where she's like legitimately bewildered that someone would think that her son didn't set off a bomb, and she's really curious about what's going on there. But then they never circle back to like, hey man, did you ever clear that poor guy's name who everyone in town hates because they thought he blew up a suicide bomb or something? I guess not, because he just blew up a bunch of other soldiers. Okay, pal.
You know, like I think it's it just goes back to that fucking Family Guy clip where they're trying to be the A team, and they're like gonna, oh yeah, we're just gonna hijack this and make your car roll over and stuff. Oh, you're gonna kill us over this? No, it wouldn't kill you. Just just knock you off the road and your car would roll over, and that would kill us. No, you just get up, dust yourself off, and walk away after. Like, hey, buddy, listen, my brother was in a got rear-ended at 5 miles an hour, whiplash in his neck, never been the same. It's just like the reality of injury in real life and like how little it takes to like permanently affect someone versus what people do in movies. It's like, no, but they're fine though. It's just so
It's just a scratch.
my favorite one is always just the hitting someone over the head with a gun to knock them out. It's like, okay, so you literally gave that person brain damage, right? Like we can all acknowledge that every time you get a concussion that is literally causing brain damage, you don't just like get up and feel fine. Like there's serious problems that occur from that. But like that's just not movie logic. It's just if you get hit with a gun, you just take a little nap. That's just what happens in movies.
You almost start to appreciate the Vulcan death pinch because it seems like an easier thing to write around than a concussion.
Like it's the same thing as like chloroform, right? Like in all the movies, you see someone dosed with chloroform and they just like pass out within like 10 seconds or if that, right? Whereas like no,
Yeah.
you need to breathe chloroform for a prolonged amount of time before you will
also
go out.
You'll also kill a bunch of brain cells by doing that. It's not good for you.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's movie logic. Just magic.
But yeah, no.
Night potions.
To your point though about the drug addiction thing, that's another thing that the MCU is like. It's always tiptoed around the idea that Tony's an addict, and it's never had the balls to just kind of go full tilt. This is a story about addiction, because Iron Man 2 kind of tries to play with that. Yeah, it's the closest they ever got, but like it was more like he became an alcoholic because he thought he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then this movie's got like, can you regulate with the extremis thing? And then the stuff with Ultron in Age of Ultron, and then his breakup with Pepper in Civil War. These are all things that are like sort of supposed to push him over the edge, but he never actually does it because I don't know. I guess Disney or Downey, somebody was vetoing the idea to do a Tony Stark addict movie.
I would bet it's probably Disney. There is an interesting conversation to be had of what the MCU would have been like if Disney never acquired Marvel.
If it was just like a Universal thing the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know what that would have turned into. It probably would have been a very different franchise. I don't know if it ever would have been as successful, honestly, which is, kind of a wild thing to say, but Iron Man 2 was done fully independently as just Marvel Studios still. Disney just acquired it before the movie was released.
They just distributed it. They didn't produce it.
Yeah, and like all the changes kind of come after that, and like Iron Man 2 is seen as probably the worst movie, unless you're just one of the people that randomly hates Incredible Hulk for no fucking reason. Iron Man 2 is like kind of the universally for a while considered the worst movie of Phase 1. I don't think that's anybody's favorite Phase 1 movie. Like there's people that still like it, but it's just that was the one that got dogged on the most for the longest time, and aside from Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go back in retrospect, for Phase One, I mean, the worst one's either Iron Man 2 or Thor, right? Like, it's got to be those two. It's not Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and the first Thor movie I like well enough. The only bad thing to me about the first Thor movie is the fucking Hawkeye cameo because it's so shit.
I don't mind the Hawkeye thing. I think the problem I had with Thor is it's never as interesting on Earth as it is on Asgard.
No, that's fair. I don't know, the Hawkeye thing for me is just like the most painfully obvious he was not there when they shot this kind of thing
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Even if they just replaced Coulson with Jeremy Renner and had Hawkeye do the interrogation himself, that might have helped fix it a little bit.
Maybe.
Because at least he would have been part of the movie.
Yeah, it's just like the most afterthought anything's ever felt, and then he's just not in the rest of the movie for no fucking reason.
Yeah. Did having Tony's dad be a character in First Avenger bother you in that same way, or?
No, because like I thought that was well integrated into the story, though it does kind of fuck with like the line from Iron Man 2 of like, I'm limited by the technology of my time. Motherfucker, you had flying cars in the 1940s. You're lazy. You got lazy is what fucking happened to you.
If anything messes with the time scale of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's that Tony's dad was a full-grown adult in World War II.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Like, he's still pretty young. Like, you could get away with, like, he's 22 or 23 in World War II. There. Because, again, it's a separate actor from the one in Iron Man 2 and,
yeah.
And Civil War and stuff. So, I feel like that one kind of can still work. He just had Tony really late in life. That's not super uncommon. And also kind of helps explain...
Rich people.
Yeah, and also just helps explain why he's such a shit dad. Because just, he's... At that age, you're just... If you've not done it by that point, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. There is really something to... If you cannot keep up with your kid at a young age, you're kind of doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Not to shame anybody, but that is just my opinion as a parent of two that feels like maybe I waited a little bit too long. Just imagining being even older and starting is fucking wild. And it just feels unfair to the kid. But yeah, I don't know. So the whole addiction thing with Extremis just stood out to me as a bit of a dropped idea, which is disappointing because again, with everything that was being done in Iron Man 2, it seemed like there could be some interesting stuff there. Maybe particularly insulting with the fact that he just cures Pepper. That could have been a cooler thing because like they start having Pepper like wearing the suits in all the other movies after that and shit. They could have just kept her having superpowers. That'd have been dope.
The scene where she's wearing the Mark 42 was in the trailers towards the end of the marketing for the movie, and people back when the movie was still coming out thought that she was going to get to be rescued in this movie, which of course they do later at Endgame. But people were hoping that she was going to be rescued almost a half decade before that.
Yeah, I don't know. She doesn't need the armor. She's got fucking super lava powers now. Just fucking let her ball, man.
I don't like that scene. I'll just go ahead and say I don't like that she gets the super comedic action scene, kill Aldrich Killian, and then end with a quip. That was really violent. I don't like that.
I don't love it. Just for the fact that like, where's she busting those moves out from? Like, I get that the Extremis makes you, opens up the door for a super soldier or whatever, but not in the same like Captain America way. It's just it rapid heals the body and gives you fucking fire powers. Everything else we see those guys doing is just like normal human shit, like that's good at fighting.
Yeah.
For within context of movie verse, blah blah blah. But like she's fucking like backflipping and doing all these crazy things. Guy Pearce has like some cool martial arts moves and stuff that even to me felt like maybe a little much. But
Yeah.
he's the one that's been running the program. I can believe that he's decided to really like go having someone be a disabled person and then like cure themselves the way he apparently has done by funding all this. I could buy that like he goes super hard into training after that or something.
Sure.
But Pepper, yeah, she just kind of gains ninja moves out of nowhere that didn't feel like it was set up with Extremis at all.
And it's just one of those things, like, the reason the MCU humor doesn't work is that every joke is designed to undercut the thing that you just saw.
Mm-hmm.
It's not designed to take advantage of the comedy of the situation. So that Pepper joke just seems like a classic example of, you just saw something, now we're going to undercut it with a quip, instead of just leaning into the tone. Because right after that, Tony's already got a joke that's pretty funny, where he's like, I got nothing, when he watches her do that. That's funny. That's fine. That's like, he's surprised by what he just witnessed. That's fine. But then Pepper's line of like, that was really violent, that just screams of like that line that a lot of MCU stuff will have, where something weird happens and the character is like, well, that just happened, or that was weird. And it just feels like it's the movie stopping to stare at the audience, and it bothers me.
That's that has really been a problem for the MCU like since the beginning. But it got real bad after Guardians. I feel like Guardians was really the tipping point for that. And again, it's like, I don't like the first Guardians at all, really. There's things I like about it here and there, but by and large, I still think the first Guardians is like one of the worst of the MCU movies, period. And I love the second one. But like,
I like them both. I like all three of them, really.
Yeah. But the first Guardians just has so much like humor and stuff, and then after that you got Thor, Ragnarok, which is just a comedy film.
Yeah.
And like after that, just the movies could, they could barely allow themselves a serious scene without having to undercut it, and then after that they just couldn't take themselves seriously, period.
Yeah.
And again, not that like, oh, it's superheroes, it could just be fun. Yeah, no, it can, but just at that point, I'll watch fucking Robot Chicken because the comedy's funnier then, right?
Right. I mean, the Ant-Man movies are really bad about this, where they just are constantly undercutting the emotions with jokes, and the Captain America, Brave New World, and Civil War, I feel like, have this a lot more than other movies do. Black Panther's probably the exception in those later movies, where I don't think any of the comedy in Black Panther is supremely out of place. But Black Panther's got the other problem of like, MCU action scenes, man, they just drag and they mean nothing and they're a mess. And Iron Man 3 is not immune to that either, where like, it's cool that a bunch of armor shows up at the end, but the action scene's basically incoherent, and it goes on for like 20 minutes, and I'm bored by that point.
Yeah, like the armor shows up and it's like, alright, target the heat signatures, start taking them out with extreme prejudice. And then they're just doing that for the longest fucking time, apparently, in the background.
Yeah, it's like literally like 20-25 minutes, and they're just doing this. I'm like, okay. You could have given me anything else in this moment besides this.
Yeah, no, like it's a hype moment, but yeah, they're just going. It goes on for too long. That does lead me into the second thing. Within the context of that, I'm assuming every armor that shows up is like a direct reference to an armor he's worn in the comics at some point.
You'd be surprised. No, most of them are made up.
Okay.
So
because that seems like a great opportunity to do that, but apparently not.
No, so there's a couple that are for sure like direct comic references. So like the Heartbreaker armor, that one's just Ultimate Iron Man.
Okay.
It's almost the same. The helmet's a little different, but aside from that, it's almost the same. Um, the Igor one that holds up the support beam,
Mm-hmm.
when that image was released, people thought it was the Hulkbuster,
Mm-hmm.
but then Age of Ultron gave us the real Hulkbuster. And then there are some like clearly specialized armors from the comics, like clearly this one is the underwater armor, this one's the space armor, this one's the stealth armor, but all the rest of them, they're all just kind of random concept art.
Okay.
There's very few that are like one-to-one. There's one armor towards the beginning of the fight that's got like this black and gold color palette,
Yeah.
and it's got the spikes. That one is possibly the armor he gets when he goes to Asgard in the Fraction run, I think.
Okay.
But that armor in the comics is silver, not black and gold. So, but yeah, most of them are just like kind of made up. Hot Toys turned every single one of them into an action figure you can buy. So if you wanted the entire House Party Protocol for $200 a pop, you could have it.
Oh, Jesus
but most
Christ.
of them are, yeah. So, but most of them are just kind of like made up armors. Over the years, they've released more and more details about what every armor is supposed to do. And there used to be a phone game that you could play where you could use any of the armors from Iron Man 3, and it would give you a little summary of what the armor did. And I used to play that a lot because it was basically just just like Fruit Ninja except Iron Man. But going through them, I remember I would stop on the ones I liked. Like I really liked the shotgun armor. I really liked the Heartbreaker armor.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna ask,
most of them are.
You named my favorite with the black and gold one. Did you have a favorite from the ones that show up?
Probably the shotgun one. That's the one that he puts on. That's silver. That's got like the rectangle chest plate. And he uses like the thrusters on the arms and the legs to get extra speed when he's punching and kicking Killian. I really like that one. He does wear the Silver Centurion at one point, but it doesn't really look like the Silver Centurion. It's just got the shoulder pads, so that bummed me out.
Okay. No, because that was my favorite. Like it for as long as that scene does go on. Either they just needed to add more extremis people than they had to make it like more justified. Go a little bit more like Lord of the Rings, a little bit less like there's 10 of them.
Yeah.
Or they just needed to figure out something else to do with the armors or something. Like the moment of them showing up is pretty fucking sick. I did like. And yeah, again, just that. The fucking black and gold one was pretty fucking hype. I like just the look of that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the black and gold one's really cool. Sorry, the one that I said I liked, apparently that one's called the Shades armor, not the shotgun armor.
Okay.
I don't know. The names are really random. They don't seem to mean anything. There is one I also really like that's got like the big sort of pincer claws.
Uh-huh.
That one's cool. I don't know what he would use it for, but it's cool. And then the one that you like, I'm looking up a list of them now. The one that you like, that one's called Bones.
Oh. I mean, 3 bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fucking sick. Oh, like,
it's cool. I really like that one.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. That one's really cool. Igor is really cool. I mean, the designs individually are cool. I don't have a problem with them. I just wish they like had functions.
Yeah. One of the Lego builders I watch, he's been like working on getting a whole hall of armor together for like every Lego Iron Man, and he's had to do an Igor build, and like people keep commenting that they don't like it for one reason or another, so he's done like fucking 4 or 5 iterations of Igor at this point.
Oh no!
It's like,
Poor
no, it really,
Igor.
It needs to fit a minifigure. If it doesn't fit a minifigure, it doesn't work. There's not a minifigure in it in the fucking movie. No one wears the Igor armor.
That's the thing. Is like no one wears any of the except for like the 2 or 3 Tony pops into. So like you can do whatever you want. They're basically androids.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just fun. Alright, well, I think that does it for Iron Man 3. It was fun living back in 2013 for a little bit with you, Steve. I missed
It was
those
a good
days.
time. It was a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you believe that was what? God, 13 years ago now?
Yeah. Yeah, this movie is
Jesus.
13 years old. How?
My God, man. This movie is older than the combined age of your children.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, by a
Crazy.
lot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it. We need ratings. I'll give Iron Man 3. I was gonna give it 5 out of 5, but I'm gonna retcon that to 4 out of 5. Suits of armor that just fucking fall apart because he's doing a real shit job with his obsession.
The fact that he needs to like break into the gauntlet to get the missile and then throw it—it's so dumb. I love it. I'll give Iron Man 3 the boring ending does really bother me. So I'm gonna go a little lower than you. I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5 fortune cookies that are hollow, full of lies, and leave a bad taste in your mouth.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the Luddite.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.